Iceland Museum of Natural History presents The History of Reykjavik Climate Change Assumptions. October 2020, Cornell University, Ithaca, New York. COVID tensions are high, election tensions are higher, and the ugliest library in the world gets demolished. Archaeologists just discovered an old laptop from this time. In the laptop, we went into the photos which could be salvaged and found many photos from a trip to Iceland that this student had taken in the year 2019. In addition to her photos and videos, we found essays she had written for her EAS classes about how climate change would melt glaciers, increase sea levels, cause extreme weather events that are irreversible. Elon Musk shocked the world by winning the 2020 election as an independent. Tesla monopolized the automobile and renewable energy industry, reversing climate change. The climate of Reykjavik in 2020 was cold, windy, and cloudy, with average temperatures in the 50s in the summer and 32 in the winter. From 1900 to 2020, the average temperature in Reykjavik increased approximately 1.51 degrees Celsius, causing glacial melt, increased rainfall events, rising sea levels, and adverse impacts on the fishing industry in the city. A news video from 2020 shows a funeral for a glacier, noting that 100 glaciers have disappeared during the century between 1920 and 2020, and in 2020 there were only 250 glaciers left. Why were people in the 20s so worried about a 1 century 1.5 degree C change? Didn't the Earth used to be hot? Some may argue, isn't the Earth constantly changing? To answer these questions, let's look at an ancient whale vertebrate fossil found in the high latitude polar zone on the cliffs of the Jomus Beds of northern Iceland. Because we know the stages of evolutionary transition of this kind of Cretacean vertebrate, and using other proxies, we can date this fossil back to the Zanclean within the Pliocene. The temperature of the Earth 4.5 million years ago was about 2 degrees Celsius above the 1960 to 1990 average. The high polar latitude climate of Iceland during the Zanclean, however, was about 2 degrees warmer than this global average, so our whale would have been hanging out in water about 4 degrees warmer than the temperature in the early 2000s. The CO2 levels during the Zanclean were similar to the CO2 levels today, but the average temperatures were warmer. This can be attributed to the strong El Niño state during the mid-Pliocene, which increased the greenhouse gas effect and reduced cloud cover, which decreased the albedo. At the end of the Pliocene, however, there was a decrease in CO2 levels, which contributed to the northern hemisphere glaciation. Subsequently, temperatures cooled. If we look at the black section of this graph, the Earth cooled approximately 4 degrees C over 5 million years. That's 4 divided by 5 million, which is 0.000008 degrees per year. Zoom in on the global average warming from 1900 to 2020, we see an increase of about 1.1 degrees Celsius, which is slightly lower than the Iceland warming degrees, but extremely high given the pace and magnitude. That is 1.1 degrees per 120 years, which is 0.0092 degrees per year. This modern change is 1,145.333 times the pace of the natural change we see in the Pliocene. Elon Musk had failed to implement his climate action. Now, in 2120, Reykjavik would have been 5 degrees Celsius warmer, and the 250 remaining glaciers would have been almost entirely gone, causing landslides, devastating low-lying villages. Would have also seen more hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, and heat waves. Now, in 2120, there has only been half a degree more of warming since 2020, and sea levels have risen only 1 millimeter. There are no more extreme weather events, and the glaciers are actually growing again. We can thank SpaceX for perfecting a carbon capture rocket among his monopolies in renewable industries.